Hello, hello. So this is just a quick little tutorial on how to operate the bot, how to get it running. Do keep in mind this is my first I guess you would say public project, but my more developed project to an end. And it has a couple moving pieces, but it doesn't really matter all that much. But pretty much what you do is you start by downloading the zip. Then you extract it, and yeah, we'll just wait for that. It'll generate this RelicBot folder. You can just move it here for now. And just wait. But yeah, this is my first project in general. Kind of did this for myself. Got tired of how ass the relic system is in Night Rain, and yeah, at some point I just started doing the save scumming strat, and it just gets tedious at some point, so I just wanted to automate it. And I also ended up making a probability algorithm just because I wanted to know the actual odds for some of these relics because they're complete ass. But anyways, I'm getting distracted. So once you extract the folder, you'll get that RelicBot folder right there, and it'll populate itself with these four things. You can pretty much ignore anything. You'll just want to double click on relicbot.exe, and you should see that it creates a couple other folders in here, and these folders will be used, but for now we can kind of just ignore it. If we go here, you will see that this is RelicBot in a blank state. So it has a couple things here, and it can definitely feel like a little bit to take in the first time you boot it up, but it's pretty simple. So you're able to create profiles so that you can store your settings. Some of them are stored in the profile, some are stored in the application itself, but we don't have to get into that much. I did make it so that there are some common paths that should be expected for a lot of these folders. For example, when we extract the relicbot.exe zip, we create the backup and output folder directories ourselves, so we'll know where these two are. And usually game executable and Steam executable follow they're usually kept in the same spot. So unless you're keeping them in a separate drive, a secondary drive, this should just work. But if you are, just be aware, and you can just go here and then just look for where it is and put it in the right place. But yeah, pretty much what we'll do here is we want to look at our save file, and so here we go. I already had it at the right spot, but it's basically your user. You go into app data, you go roaming, you go Night Rain, you enter the numbered folder that you'll have, and then it's this file right here, the one that ends with .s12, not any of the other two. You'll choose that, and that'll be your save file. And you can create a profile and do all that. But yeah, pretty much there's these two modes that I made. Technically three, but let's just focus on these two modes for selecting and looking for relics. So the first one is pretty straightforward. Build exact relic. Right now we are in normal mode, so in theory it should only be showing passives available in normal mode. And let's say I want to make a let's just say we want to make a Halo Scythe build because that's OP and popular. So let's go with attack increase for Night Invaders. Let's go with Dormant Power for Reapers, and let's go with what else would we want in here? I guess let's go with Duchess, improved character skill attack power. So this is a neat little thing that I did where basically whenever you are building the exact relic, I data mine the odds for the passives themselves, but I also made an algorithm to take into account how passives get selected and eliminated, and that'll be more in depth in the probability text file itself, but it'll pretty much explain how the probability is actually calculated. But for anyone who's just seeing this, you can see attack power increase for each Knight Invader is 0.74 chance. It's a 1 in 134 of appearing in any relic. Then here we can see the Dormant Power for Reapers. It's much rarer. And then this one is more common. So having all these three together means that right now I have this set up where out of these three passives that I selected, as long as two of those three are found in one relic, then that's a match. And that's the odds of this happening, of one relic having two out of these three passives. I can lower or raise this from 1 to 3, and you'll see how the odds change. So if I do, okay, I just care about one of these passives being present. That's a 1 in 62 chance. If I go 2, 1 in 19, 2, 16. And then if I go 3, yeah, you can see how the odds in this game are not the best, and kind of why I wanted to figure this out and make the bot, because this is just not acceptable. 1 in 63 million, like, come on. This is insane, bro. But anyways, you have this method of building relics, and then the second one is the passive pool. The passive pool is pretty straightforward. You just dump a couple passives in here. If they're like mutually exclusive, for example, you can't have both of these in the same relic, then it won't count them towards the odds. But let's just add a couple passives in here just to kind of like get this populated. And it doesn't really matter like which one it is for now. We're just adding stuff just for the sake of it. And there we go. Now, we have all these passives, and it'll show you the odds per passive of that appearing in a relic. And then, right now, we are saying as long as one of the passives, which are 8 in my pool, are in a relic, then that's a match. So we have a 1 in 19 chance, which is pretty good. But then if we ask for 2, then you'll see how the odds change. And now it's a 1 in 123,000 chance. Oh no, that's with 3. I skipped 1. If it's 2, I thought that was way too high. But yeah, if it's 2, 1 in 959. So you can see, because we have more like options, obviously the probability is going to be better. But it basically does the whole math for you, and it's based on what you select in the UI. So that's pretty cool. And then the last way of building relics is this one, which is the pairings menu. And how this one works is you select a passive for A. Say I want this one, and then I want like a physical attack of +2. You can basically leave it as is, and this will be a valid pair. And what pairing menu says is if I get this passive, but this passive is not present, then it's not a match. All the passives I've chosen here have to be present in one way or another. So it's not a match unless both of these are present. And then we have an extra passive C where you can actually use a pool. So if you do like I select a specific passive from here, a specific passive from here, but then maybe my third passive, I'm okay with it being one of many. And the pool you can select from should be populated by only passives that should not be incompatible with the others. For example, if I select, you see here how I selected the Iron Eye one. If I clear this, you should see here now that all the character-specific ones are now able to be chosen here. And then let's say I choose the Guardian one here, and I actually go back and I put the same Iron Eye one. It should tell me, oh, yeah, incompatible. So that's just to help out. But you can select a couple things, let's say here, and then let's create the pairing. And here's our pair. And if we go here, we can see the odds of this pairing like coming to fruition. It's 1 in 1,745,970 per relic. And then out of all the options we have, here's our odds of finding something. Then technically we do use either the build exact relic or the passive pool menu. And if you don't, you have to select which menu you want to use. But if you want to use both at the same time, you can click on combine both tabs. And then here, yeah, you can see now we just tell the bot basically that as long as a relic matches something that I'm asking for in here or in here, then it's considered a match. So that's for the matching system. Then we have this excluded passive system. Say that I ask for a relic and I only ask for 2 passives, and I'm happy with that, but I really don't want a passive to appear, because imagine you're asking for like a physical attack of +2, improved bestial incantations, and then you get like dormant power, discover flails, and it just ruins your build. So you can just exclude those. And I'll show this quick, but if we go to Deep of Night mode, we can actually also exclude curses, which we won't see in normal mode. And it's pretty self-explanatory. It also updates the odds with like how curses affects them, so that's pretty neat. And then here, the rest of the stuff is how to operate the bot itself. So the features here are loops, which is basically, if you were to do this yourself, you'd open the game, and then you just go to the shop, buy 10 relics, then buy 10 more until you're like at a merc. And then you'd review the relics, see if there's any like a particular relic you like. And if there isn't, then you close the game, delete your save, and then load your backup of the save before you even spent any merc. That's what we call an iteration. So this is basically telling the bot for how much it'll run. Then there's this option, additional CPU workers, and basically the bot is allowed to open more instances of itself so that you can speed up the analysis of relics, and this just helps out do stuff quicker, especially when you're running this on the CPU. And yeah, I would say never like go too high. I'd say 4 is really as high as you need to go, but technically it does go up to 8. But for most systems, you don't need more than 4, even on like good systems. Then we have different modes here for analysis. There's async mode, which how I designed this one to work is when you're running the bot, it'll be performing inputs and like analyzing what's on the screen to make sure that it's actually doing what you want it to do. So it's not as simple as just repeating sequences of inputs and just being happy. It actually like knows what it's doing, so it can correct itself in case it messes up. And what async analysis does is that as it performs the inputs, it also analyzes the images of relics that have already been added to its queue. And this speeds up the process a lot, but it also like makes it so that maybe your system has some lag spikes and maybe an input can be dropped here and there. So it's more of like use at your own discretion if you think you have a good system, etc. And then this is a sub option for the async mode, which basically when we're doing important things, we don't want to be analyzing stuff. So we say, okay, when important things are happening, don't analyze. But besides that, go crazy. And here's Smart Throttle, which is an algorithm I made to detect how good or bad your system is performing. And based on that, it'll like adjust timings and throttle the system so that it doesn't use too many resources and then not function. Then we have, I mean, technically we do have just normal mode where we don't select anything, and it'll just work where the bot will run, it'll see a relic, it'll analyze what it is, and once it knows what it is, then it'll go to the next one and analyze that. And it's slower, but it's consistent, and it'll work on pretty much any system. And we have backlog analysis, where pretty much what the bot will do is it will run through the shop, it will take all the screenshots it has to of all the relics that it's seen, and then once it's done taking all the screenshots for however many iterations you tell it to, then it'll start analyzing them without even the game open, so there's no like competing for resources. And this is the most consistent for like systems where you're not too confident on its performance. It's technically not the faster, but it's the most consistent if you want reliability. And then I added this one, which is intermittent backlog analysis, which, let's say that I'm running 100 loops. Well, imagine however many relic screenshots you have being accumulated after 100. It's going to be a lot. So you can select this setting and tell it, okay, after 5 iterations that you run, start working on the analysis. So it'll slowly start working on the queue. So that's pretty nice. And you can select like after how much. Then we have conservative timing, which is like it's basically a low performance mode. Then there's these. These are pretty neat. I'd recommend using Smart Analyze. It's basically a preset of relic combos that I set up, which is pretty good, and it should just help you get more matches, even if you didn't necessarily like want to go for that. Imagine you get like a really good roll for a different build, and then you're like, okay, I guess I'll take it. So that one's neat. And then match but excluded relics. That one, basically what it'll do, it'll come more into play for Thief of Night mode. Let's say you exclude a curse or a passive. If everything else matches, but a curse or a passive isn't excluded, if it's like a really good combo, let's imagine you rolled like 3 for 3 what you wanted, but it has a curse you didn't want, and you excluded it. So technically you'd never see it. In my mind, I was like, the odds are so low of getting that perfect roll that it would be pretty sad to like not know that I got it, even if the curses are some that I didn't want. So I made this match but excluded folder where it'll just send the excluded matches there, and you can review it. Like it won't always have what you want, but sometimes you'll find like a hidden gem here and there, and you'll be like, okay, the downside is worth the upside. Then I added this, which is GPU mode. Basically, if you have a compatible GPU, the program will tell you, and you can install the GPU acceleration. It'll do a download, and it will allow you to run much of the processing and the programs for the bot in the GPU itself, and it's actually like 10 times as fast, at least from my test with my setup. Having a 3070 in a laptop, it's like 10 times as fast as just running it straight on the CPU. And then here you'd have to do like GPU acceleration, and then you can enable hybrid GPU and CPU so that it uses both the GPU and the CPU for analysis. And then you can enable the GPU to always analyze regardless of what's going on the screen. But we don't gotta get into that. Then here's like settings for an overlay, which I made so that you can view stuff while in the RelicBot while it's running. And then here is an odds viewer. It'll get like the aggregate of all the things you asked for and tell you the odds of like finding what you want in one iteration. And here's a slider that goes up to 500, where I can say like, imagine that I'm gonna get 200 relics that I'm gonna buy in an iteration, and it'll tell me like, oh, my odds of finding in a 200 relic iteration is 1.1%, which is 1 in 1,674 relics, which is based on the odds of any condition of all the things I asked for, be that here and here. The odds of any of that happening is this in a 200 relic iteration. So it'll tell me that if all iterations are at 200 relics, it expects to find a match in this many iterations. It'll tell you how much merc it'll cost to be able to run an iteration with this many like relics being bought. And it'll also change depending on modes, and it'll tell you the ideal time that one iteration should take and how much time it expects however many loops you set to take. So that's also pretty nice. And then lastly, you can also select colors for relics. Like if you only want to accept certain colors, you can check that.